Okay, welcome back to our very interesting discussion on generation gap. I think we covered quite a bit, and we'll continue to talk about what generation gap is all about, why it matters so much, and what does it take for us to deal with it and meaningfully so that our lives can be a lot more engaging and connected. So, Sriji, over to you for a quick recap. I think
Thanks.
we winded up with a question, so we'll start right back
Yes,
there.
yes. Thanks, Ram, and thanks, Suresh ji, again. In fact, Suresh ji very beautifully to sum up what Suresh ji had very nicely brought up in the last talk. Talk. That's the single word summary of what he said. Talk to the next generation. Talk to the earlier generation also to exactly understand their viewpoint, their locus standi, and that will help you empathize better with people, both older as well as younger than you. That being said, I would like to now take the same discussion to the professional front, especially people, teachers have this problem more than any other professionals, right? When you start the career, especially if you are a professor, when you start the career, your student and you almost belong to the same age. And then you continuously start seeing the generations grow in front of you, and many times it is hard to realize because it's a continuous process. Unlike parenthood, where the getting an offspring is an event and it's a distinct process, and then from some day onwards you are a father or you are a mother. A teacher's life is not like that. From day one you are a teacher till you are going to retire. From day one you are a professor till you are going to retire. And I really don't, I wonder how easy it is to understand that actually you are growing old when you are a teacher. There is a merit to it as well as a demerit to it. The merit to it is fairly you will remain younger than other friends of you who are in different professions because you get to deal with the people of that particular age, right? That millennia. At the same time, the demerit of it is you sometimes probably think of something to be a degeneration, which actually it may not be, right? For example, I'll give you a short example of what I'm trying to ask. Back then, when I were to search for a paper or for a concept, not many of us had mobile phones during our college, even when I was during college, right? Smartphone was a luxury. You had normal Nokia 1100 something to call your parents in case of emergency or something. Right? I had my first smartphone in my second year of my MTech. Okay, not much about me, but just to give you a context of why I'm asking this question. So if I wanted to know something technically, even what I had to do was I had to resort to go to the library, download some papers, read the paper and understand it, or look at some old textbooks, or talk with my professors, or talk with lab technicians, or in worst case, find someone from the industry and reflect with them and understand, or talk from my gate teacher. These were the options available for me. Today, it's very simple. Right? Open, open chat GPT, search, it gives something. And whether you are sure about whether it is correct or not is a different question altogether. But at least now you have got something right on your hand to give you a solution about. Now, if you ask me if it is a degeneration to it, sometimes I may think of it to be, right? So if someone is using a chat GPT to write a MATLAB code, it really makes me upset even today. Because for me, when you try to code a concept, you learn the concept even much more better. It is like practicing a mathematical problem by hand. Mathematics cannot be read. Computer science cannot be read. It has to be practiced. But if you are allowing ChatGPT to do that for you are losing the business. You are not going to becoming the expert that the system tries to make you. But on the other side of it, if I had to do the searching, what I will take 3 days to do something today's kids are able to do in 3 minutes. That's the perk of it. That's the perk of the technology also. So, like Suresh had completed in the last talk, there are a lot of perks to technology. You cannot, like he said, he gave an example of where he instantly searched in Google regarding the water wastage, he got the data. All those are examples of how technology is useful. So I cannot say that ChatGPT is a humbug. It has made a student's life bad. If I'm going to make that conclusion, then I will probably fall in the category of boomers that Gen Z people are convenient calling the elder. I don't want to do that also. So how do I strike a balance between the two, especially in professional world, especially for teachers? So I hope I didn't make the question too long. In that case, sorry viewers, sorry
I,
Ram and Suresh. Please answer.
I think, Sri,
Please
it is
go ahead.
important that when you ask a question, it should make sense, like what this question is all about.
Yeah,
I think
yeah.
that detail is very important. Thank you so much for that. Right. Let me start,
Thank you.
Ram, if my so um, a beautiful example, right? Generation, how a teacher is handling.
Yes.
It's so important, right? I'll tell you. We can remember our school life. Probably, Sri, it may not be that different. So again, right? So the reason why I'm saying this is, um, I remember my teacher had the liberty to correct me with the punishment, or even by beating me on a scale on my a wooden scale on my knuckle. I remember my geography, very nice teacher, but then if the kid is so troublesome, a two bounded note she will have like this in her hand and then patak on the head. Yeah. So I remember those days. Can the teacher do this today?
She'll
And
be
they have
behind the
accepted
bars.
exactly. And what made them to change? Because I think there is a bit of responsibility. Probably the incidents which has triggered probably made the teacher be more responsible. Again, she now has a limited tool to correct the next generation. It is
Yeah,
even more challenging. I'm not saying punishment is good or bad. I'm not debating on that point. Whether hitting a child with a scale or violently, making the child. I think there are a lot more to debate. That's again a separate topic for us to discuss. But then sticking to the idea in thought process around teacher handling generations, next generation. I can understand the pressure the teachers are going through. The reason why I'll tell you. Same standard. Let's say example of sixth standard. Let's say a teacher is teaching a sixth standard now. After 5 years, even after 5 years or probably 2 years, she cannot follow the same strategy what she applied 2 years before. The kids are different.
beautiful,
New
beautiful,
generation. She has
beautiful.
to adopt and think that is where we need to embrace that change.
Yes,
Teacher
yes,
is
yes,
even more important. If you start applying, I'll tell you why I'm saying this. COVID example that we spoke about in the last episode. Post COVID and pre COVID, it changed. Teachers
drastically.
have to change. It's not only on students. The teachers have to
Yeah,
change a lot because the students did
yes,
not understand how to read a book. They're not able to
yeah,
connect with the word, so they have to adopt
yeah,
to this change. And again, it has created a huge gap, huge
yes,
generation gap. I think
yes,
that is where I think it is important, particularly a teacher's profession, and how this is impacting other professions, right? Particularly, let me, because I'm from an IT background, I'll also bring that into an example. It is important that a senior professional need to understand there is always a junior person in the making, or to become a professional where you stand right now. And we need to accept sometimes we may be redundant as a generation. We need to allow newer generation to come in, and we have to find other opportunities to move out and leave that vacant position for the next generation to fill in. I think it's not that easy, but it is going to be difficult. But that is important because everybody has to be responsible in taking this in a right way. That's where I want to stop, and then I'll give it to Ram. Yeah.
but
What do you think, Ram?
Suresh sir, two important points you have made out. In
Yeah.
fact, in your in your talk, you have very beautifully brought out the need for empathizing with teachers. Viewers, at this time, I would like to take a short pause from our line of thought. Sorry, Ram, I interrupted in between, but really, a huge pranams to every teacher in this society. It is not easy.
Yeah.
It is definitely not easy. He has very nicely put. 2024 handling a 6th standard is not same as handling the same 6th standard in 2026. It's not same in 2028. And perhaps someone is handling 6th standard for 10 to 15 years in their career. And they are seeing this difference in front of their eyes. And I really don't know how much there are efforts from bodies like the CBSE or NCRT. Of course, I plead ignorance if there are efforts. I'm not meaning to say that they are not doing any efforts. But I really wonder how much education ministry, the different state boards as well as the central board in this country takes cognizance of this, because teachers are ultimately human beings. And mind it, there are at least three classes that every teacher handles, and every class has got at least 40 children. So per year, 120 different human beings is what a teacher handles, and the responsibility on the shoulder of teacher is humongous. And that, with the change that happens across generations, these people are handling it. And I really don't know how much of this has been spoken out, how much of vocality has been given to the kind of challenges that those people face. But they have been doing it. We were created by teachers. Generations to come will are going to be created by teachers. The past was also created by teachers. So really, really, we express from our team a great deal of gratitude to all the teachers who have been doing this for the society. Thanks, Ram. Yeah, Ram, please.
No, I think it's important to call that out, right? Otherwise, if we keep talking about humanities, we don't express gratitude. It's just hollow talk. So,
True.
uh, I was just briefly when Suresh was talking, I was also glancing at some of the notes I had made for this call because and right at that time, this is actually studied, right? There is something called as the disengagement and activity theory. So the people keep talking about constantly, as we age, we kind of disengage from certain things and let the next generation take over because obviously there is a great deal of freshness, a great deal of boldness that comes, right? Because they are not conditioned like us by, of course, experience and also various other factors. And there is also a great deal of efficiency that comes in with a lot of new age stuff. For example, you brought out ChatGPT, right?
Yeah.
There are contexts where it's actually really helpful. Suresh brought about a beautiful example, right? Yeah, I've done my due diligence. I've observed something. I've become curious. Now I want to indulge my curiosity. I need to get some data. I don't have to wait for my weekend to come for me to go to a library to pick a book to wait in queue. But Suresh and I come from that period, right? So we had to go to Connemara, get a book, wait in queue, get it photocopied, and then we had to come back. Today, children have the luxury. So I think uh, these are good things. And because you brought about the context of organizations, now we'll draw parallels to certain things, right? Today, the load on teachers is much higher, right? Back in the days,
Yeah.
teaching was about inculcating knowledge, right? Not there was not so much of a clamor for degrees. SSLC once upon a time was good enough to get a decent job. Today, you don't know even a decent master's degree isn't good enough for many things in life, right? So there is a lot of pressure on teachers from the different governing bodies. They are not paid well. From children themselves who come from a totally different line of thinking. From sorry for saying this, from mostly snowflake parents, right? Who do not, okay, snowflakes who do not want their children to be disciplined, right? Who think pampering children is the right way to do. They don't understand the
Right.
difference between authoritarian conduct and authoritative conduct. I would like to clarify that. Authoritarian is unacceptable. That is where all your corporal capital punishment comes from, your what do you call unsympathetic, unkind conduct comes from. But authoritative handling is about respecting the roles, setting clear
True.
boundaries, saying this is what I
True.
will, this is what I'm bringing to the table, this is what you're bringing to the table, and let's both stick to it while still being compassionate and kind towards the child and recognizing their differences. So this is important even in parenting. I know I'm digressing, but I think it is extremely important that parents recognize and allow authoritative things. We'll also draw parallels, right? When I met my school teacher a couple of years back in one of the local departmental stores. So I said, "Hello, ma'am. Good evening, ma'am." At 40, right? I finished school long time back. But today, I see there are certain, class 11, class 12 kids. When I was in a inter-school competition recently with my children, one of their old teachers came. One of the kids went and hugged her and said, "Hey, ma'am, it looks so cool to meet you." You and I can never imagine doing
Yeah,
that.
yeah, yeah.
If we do that, our teachers will come and say, "Hey, say good evening." Even today, right? Now, we still have that. So,
Very true.
and that is not just with schools, right? When my father worked on, when our parents were all working, they always called their superiors as sir or ma'am. There was always a good morning. Can I leave? Today we call people by name. Right, of course,
Name.
for sake of for good order, I cannot take names, but Suresh and I, we've interacted with some really, really senior people. We call them by name. A lot of kids call us by name, right? Right?
Yeah.
So there is a lot of that is also
Gone are
happening.
the days when leave letters were applications. Today they are information.
Information, yeah, and some of these
Huge.
are good also because I think there are certain things which should be entitlement based. I don't know if I'm saying that because I'm spoiled, but I think certain things should be entitlement based, and authoritarian behavior is not good. So, coming back to saying this, right? Professional landscapes are taking a different turn, right? There was a time when people manufactured on the basis of needs. Today,
Mm,
a lot of organizations exist and make things or produce things simply because they want to continue existing. So
mm,
what I'm
mm,
saying
mm,
is,
mm.
instead of being, people keep claiming that they're very customer centric, right? I mean, I don't want to sound like a communist, but people keep saying they're like customer centric, customer is king, but they're actually self-serving. Who needs 20
True,
releases
true, true,
of mobile phones and earbuds and equipment every year from a company? Only the shareholders need it,
true,
right? So there is
true.
a lot of drive for efficiency. There's a lot of drive for cold productivity. And that is true in all spaces, right? Schools have become factories where they churn out people who can go into IITs and all the premium institutes, right? This is not going to end at all. And that is one of the places where striking a balance between indulging who we are naturally. See, technology can evolve, societies can evolve, and I think I've touched upon how quickly society evolves or technology evolves, vis-a-vis
Mm.
how slowly we evolve. We've evolved over millions of years, and I never stop with just human evolution, right? In some of the other contents that we talk about,
Yeah.
I go back 350, 400 million years where our actual roots started, right? That is how far we have come in terms of 350, 400 million years today to where we are in terms of our faculty. 20 years ago, internet was not a thing, right? You're talking about not having a mobile phone sometime back. We never had internet connections at home 25 years back. We had to go somewhere to access the internet.
Director Shankar is thought
Yeah.
of as a visionary for putting that in that movie, right? Even today.
Yeah, correct. And have you used GUI browsers? I have used GUI browsers. Link. Today, I can't even imagine a GUI browser. Right. So, point is, sorry, I know I'm going on and on, and I'd like to hand it over to
No, no,
Suresh,
please, please, please.
but the point is, but the point
Is
really
that a generation gap that we are talking about
much we are older.
in 1940, 1950 stories?
True, but look, but the society will evolve, technology will evolve really, really
Yeah.
fast because I think a lot of us are becoming highly individualistic. Organizations are becoming self-serving. Not that there is anything wrong with that. Companies should make money. They should stay on in business for the economy. Population is growing, so there is a lot to cater for, right? And there are so many parameters which drive the dynamics. But none of that will really matter. None of that will be sustainable until such time we recognize that as humans, there are certain fundamental givens that we need, right? And again, we can all tie this back to what we spoke in the last episode also, right? Talking to people, mindful presence, being here and now and
Mm,
understanding who our children are,
lovely.
Beautiful,
right?
Yeah.
That's
beautiful.
absolutely important. It doesn't matter. No amount of techno. People go and fall into technology. People go and drown themselves in digital content only because there is a sense of loneliness even if people are present around them, because whoever is present around them is living either in the future or in the past or in some alternate timeline without being present in the here and now. And the very natural response, right, at a defense, when it comes to us being challenged as to whether we are actually being there for them, being present for the children, or being present for the elders, is that we assume that they know what we know.
Beautifully told.
Okay, we
Yeah,
assume automatically that they know. I'll probably narrate a short story if it's okay, right? So, a couple of years back
please,
when
please.
the lockdown started, my second kid was had just finished lower kindergarten, uh, regular school, which is essentially just understanding school, right? And then upper kindergarten first year was spent in COVID, and people are still figuring out how to run the year, so it was just a formality. Class one day there is a big commotion at home, and there is a question, oh, take out your classwork, children. I can hear the teacher, and my daughter's rifling through her books, and then this my elder daughter is saying, take the classwork. That's not the classwork. Why are you not taking the classwork? My wife is saying something. So I went and I observed, and this girl was still rifling through every single notebook that she had. Right, everything is same brown covered, everything. Right? So we went and so I went and asked her. Okay, I said, let's stop. I said, what happened? She said, what is the meaning of classwork? Only then it occurred to all of us that it is possible for somebody to not know the meaning of the word classwork,
Classic.
especially because that kid never went to school in a year where they actually teach all of that. And we often take it for granted. Likewise, if I'm sitting with somebody who's at work today, right, some senior person, and then I can make a very flippant remark saying, "Oh, we have this really nice, fancy, advanced dashboarding tool that's available." And when they come and say, "Can you give this to me in an Excel sheet?" I can probably be condescending and say, "Oh, what, I mean, I'm giving you such a wonderful tool, such a good dashboard. Why do you want me to translate this into a boring Excel sheet?" We are not recognizing the fact that this was the fancy dashboard 20 years ago when they were
Mm.
there, and for some reason they have not transitioned. Right? We don't have to judge them, but today they are. Some of them make the transition, some of them don't make the transition. But I have a choice to make when I'm where I am. Right? I can make a difference between empathizing with them and either seeing if giving them what they want forms a bridge, or at least it helps me to engage with them as a human being. I think that will solve most of the generation gap problems. I'll probably stop and let Suresh take over from this point.
Brilliant, brilliant, Ram. That was so nice of you. In fact, you touched a very important point, right? Yes, it happens. What you said happens a lot of times. We are happy having cool apps, but people who work 15, 20 years ago, they may need an Excel sheet or there are still senior people who take printouts of presentations and have it during the discussion. It's not uncommon to see
Yeah.
in big industry. That being said, I would like to extend the discussion that Suresh ji had made from the last point. I would like to ask a question to Mr. Suresh ji. Actually, you told at a point that when the youngsters are coming, of course, I'm an youngster, okay? I'm asking it from the general point of view. Please don't, you both please don't get upset, okay? Fine. So, so when someone young comes, they come with a lot of new technologies and learnings that are particular to that generation, correct? So you told while you were speaking that if it is better, leave way for them. Correct? Is that what I have I understood it right? Leave way for them, leave way for the fresh technology, fresh thought process, fresh way of doing to enter into the organization. Suresh ji, now I have a question for you. To leave way for
Please.
someone requires a lot of security from the individual who does it, right? The individual should feel secure about his or her position not being challenged. And it is not an easy task. It requires a lot of magnanimity. We do see a lot of people who are magnanimous to us. But when we think about inculcating that good trait from them, sometimes we really doubt. And I don't think so it is very wrong because all of us at the end of the day are human beings. We have our security needs on place and we should feel comfortable transferring that baton or torch to the next generation. So, is there a few points that you would like to touch upon this particular aspect? How can one be so self-reliant and confident enough? How does one develop the confidence over the years to do this, to leave space for someone else who is coming at a much later time from them? Because it comes with a thought of redundancy, and that's not easy to swallow. It's not easy for some individual to swallow that I am no longer fully useful. I have some redundancy with regards to organization. It's a onset of retirement, if I can call it. How do you advise people handle it? Yeah, thanks.
Great. I think that's a very deep question. And I think everybody should understand, right? Um, Giving way is not giving job to them. Giving way is giving
Brilliant,
space for the next generation to come in. And at the
brilliant,
same time, it is also important. Yes, sometimes when we are redundant, even the job is at stake. I mean, when it's at stake because we have to make an impactful contribution. When I say impactful, everything is all when you convert into numbers, ROI comes in. right?
Yeah.
So when the company is investing on you, will expect a return out of it. It's same to us as well. When we go to a showroom buying a television, and we look at all the brands in the showroom, and
Yes.
then we pick the one that is cost effective, feature rich,
Yes.
and aesthetical, everything, all these things together, we want to buy in that same price, right?
Yep.
It is so competitive. Say the market is so competitive. We have so much of products and choices. So say the same product. I'm not comparing human to a product, but then eventually we are working for a company, a corporate, right?
Yeah.
So it is so important that we need to understand what is relevant in the market, gear ourselves. Okay,
Mm.
so I always do, take this as an example of, let's say uh, we are flying in the same aeroplane, or even let's say bullock carts. When the transportation is so developed, will we travel in bullock carts? Maybe fancy one day we can do, like, probably for a selfie or a for an experience to remember, right? But then can we do this daily? And now we have advanced transportations, and
Yeah.
it's like, we cannot go back and use the same bullock carts. So we have to get along with these changes, right? Same way, everything, even a profession, has to evolve. Like, we need to learn, we need to invest on ourselves. So, I mean, somebody is ready to fill your position, which means you either become redundant or
Mm.
you do not understand the change. At the same time, we did not understand this generation what they're looking for, because the corporates are working for this generation and also mix of
Mm.
other generation,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
So it's
Mm.
a blend
Mm.
of everything. I don't think so. Say again, companies now are investing a huge to upskill their employees. They invest on mental well-being. They invest on coaching. I learned, good thing that is coming up, like career coaching, career counseling. These things, when the company is investing, doesn't look an employee as a liability. They want a person also to take this opportunity to change. I think enough opportunities there for an employee. I think it's more of making use of all the things around you. Feel the presence, and again, don't see everything as a competition, right? Ask this question to yourself: what value that you can bring to your company? What value, let's say, okay, even forget about the company, but then the customer is going to use our product. What
Mm.
value I can give to the company so the customer is getting benefit, or my maybe some, let's say if I'm working for a pharmaceutical, so I'm adding something benefit that actually goes and saves
Right.
somebody's life, right? So that value we need to understand. Once we understand the value, I think everybody will respect and probably invest more time into upskill. So I stop here again. It's so beautiful topic, deep topic. It's our limited time will not help us to go much deeper, but I request Ram to share his wisdom on this.
Sure,
Yes.
I think I can't be any wiser than what you said. And I think, comes again so beautifully into the whole generation thing, right? Generation at the end of the day, if we are still talking about generation in terms of the age scale, right, where we
Yeah.
belong on the age scale, plus what is the impact of the of the multivariate system, right? So there are so many factors that impact uh, what defines the span of one generation. So when we constantly are looking to grow along with the industry, and it's inevitable, right? And if we don't make ourselves redundant boldly with courage and with curiosity, the only difference is whether we leave or they ask us to move out, right? So I think
Seriously.
that's very important. And when we do that, the one thing that we've seen from experience, right, because we both have spent more than 2 decades in the industry, we are not new, and we have come through recessions, we have come through generations, we have changed roles, we have grown up or moved up the ladder. The only thing that we have seen is a constant openness to learn and grow is not beneficial just for our careers, right? We are also able to relate with people who are at different levels in the same ladder, right? Fresh kids, people who are entering middle management now, people who are above us, leadership, right? We are able to kind of anybody at any point, any level with people above and below them who are on this constant quest to break free from this construct of, oh, I belong to this generation, or this is my identity, and who are trying to constantly move with the industry to understand what this is as a whole, is able to connect and engage much better with the chain. And not only do they break this whole silo for themselves, but they also break it down for others. See, that is what makes a good leader today more than anything else. And I think that attitude anywhere, whether it is the workplace, whether it is in our families, wherever it is, if we are able to continue, because that system is also evolving. We take our families as families and how I mean, domestic environment, if I can put it that way, for granted quite often, right? But those systems are also evolving. Our dynamics are evolving. The family structure is evolving. Uh, at least companies have been run only to make money for 200, 300 years now. But family system has completely changed all over the world, right? So I think it's quite important that we bring in all these different things: the openness, mindful presence, the willingness to engage. Of course, there'll always be the odd case who will never talk, who are happy to live in their own bubble. At some point, we need to take a call, and then we can probably disengage for our own good, or probably we can spend our time better. But otherwise, good to engage with people, and constantly try to see how is it that we can keep the whole thing going despite the changes that are coming in. How can we remain as a unit, right? When you take a fishing boat and people, let's say, set sail, they initially go from the coast, right? The boat is ultimately tugged to the coast. It's kind of hitting against the pier or the sandbank or whatever. It slowly goes into the ocean. The great depth gradient keeps changing. The boat doesn't change, right?
Beautiful,
That has to remain as
beautiful.
such. And then I think that will actually help us to do what Suresh spoke about, right? You are now not redundant. You are growing. You're curious, you're upskilling, your organization wants you to grow, your organization wants you to be progressively useful. No organization just lets go of people without giving them a chance. I think it's important to mention that also, right? And so when that happens, if we don't take a chance, then there's no point in blaming the organization also.
True,
Right? Then we'll resort to things like, oh, I belong to a different generation. They never respected my experience. That
true.
back in the day when they started this side, that's all just living on past glories, which will never really take anybody anywhere. And we are only going to be more disconnected. Forget generations. We are going to become isolated. We are going to move away from people. Then there is another host of mental health issues that we are talking about, which I think we'll reserve for a separate video. But I think, yeah, that's my view on this. So.
In fact, Ram, I should really say you very beautifully came to the very core of the question. So, if I can sum up what you told, the main crux of your suggestion is keep on updating yourself. Don't cling on to a set of beliefs and say, form a rigid cocoon around yourself that you are going to be this. No, stay updated. The industry will keep on changing. To combine with what Suresh ji had also told, industry will keep on be adapting itself to the needs of the customers then and there. You keep adapting yourself and see what you can add to the industry to be of value to the customer. At the same time, with regards to the technological advancements as well as other operational advancements that may come into the field depending upon the nature of your job, keep yourself adapt to those changes so that you will also feel relevant, and in that way, instead of becoming a senior who's bossy or something, you will actually become a guide because you know why a particular change has
Mm.
really come, and in that way the organization will also find a
Yeah,
great value on our presence because here we are turning into teachers, we are turning into people who can pave way for the future and
exactly.
draw a proper route map for the future. That
And
was
you're,
really great.
yeah.
In fact, it was, yeah, please,
No,
sorry.
you're capitalizing on your biggest asset, which is experience. When you constantly grow, you know how to apply it. I think that's,
Yeah,
Beautiful.
otherwise we miss out on that chance also, right? So, yeah.
correct.
Beautiful, 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 beautiful. So that was a very nice two sessions, I should say. I hope we have not missed on any points. So to sum up, talk with people regularly, talk with people belonging to different generations, understand from where they come from, That was one important learning that we got, both on personal side as well as on the professional side. More so on the professional side, certain professions literally require empathy to understand that they get to deal with more of generation gaps, generation changes than the other generations. That was the meaning than the other professions. That was one thing that came out very nicely from the talk. And another thing that came from the talk was be confident enough and work sufficiently enough that you have the confidence and security to pave way for others also, newcomers, to take inspiration from you as well as opportunities from you for the betterment of the organization. Stay adept with the advancements of the nature of work that you have got, and be more relevant and capitalize on your experience. So I hope I have not missed any point. I have summed up the discussion, right? If you people can add in case I had missed any point.
I think you nicely summed up, Sri.
Yeah.
I mean, if this is not a kind of closure, I just want to
Yeah,
share one
please.
before we do, right? We need to understand generation gap. We need to embrace like a change. Generation gap is something we need to embrace as well. The reason why we needed such talks is earlier we used to live like a joint family, different generations, knowledge is getting shared across and supporting each other. This is now currently missing, and it is important now we are bringing this topic that as a nuclear family, this is something we are losing. But don't worry. So it is still
Yeah.
under control. I think when we put ourselves conscious about it, I think we should be able to nail it down. It is not difficult. Of course, we miss those experiences, but then experience can be gained. We have to learn. We have to open for learning, and at the same time, treat your family well. That's something which I wanted to say it as a closure. Ram, over to you.
Great,
Brilliant,
great.
brilliant, brilliant closure. I don't think anybody could have closed it any better. So I guess
Absolutely.
on that note, I think wonderful discussion. I thoroughly enjoyed participating in this conversation. I think this has opened up a whole host of possibilities in terms of what we can discuss going forward also. So I really look
And
forward
thanks to those
to.
people who really asked us to do a show on this,
Absolutely.
right?
Very, very
Thanks for
grateful
the
to
talk.
you all. So thank you so much, everybody. I think this was useful. Thank you, Suresh. Thank you, Sriji. And
Thank you, Ram. Thank you,
see
Suresh.
you all soon on the next video. Thank you. Take care. Bye
Thank
bye.
you.